Alright, the last couple of days has been an absolute whirlwind. I've been filming content for my mum down in Yass. I had a Phantom cosplay shoot, doing some Uncharted promo stuff, as well as writing my script for Behind the Reel for A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. So yes, I'm a couple of days late to these two particular bits of news, but in terms of Robin, totally this kid. Hey guys, welcome back to a new video on the channel. Today I'm doing a double whammy in terms of two bits of news. Yes, they are a couple of days old, but now that I'm caught up with everything, I wanted to touch on them. It is rumored that Robin is going to be making an appearance in The Batman Part 2 with Matt Reeves directing and Robert Pattinson returning as Batman, as well as the supposed and rumored return of Andy in Toy Story 5 along with his family. Ugh. So first up, let's talk about the boy wonder. We all know that Clayface is supposedly making an appearance in The Batman Part 2, which is slated for release in 2025. In terms of the timeline for The Batman Part 2, I've read it takes place a year or so after the events of the first The Batman from 2022. So the article I'm going to be going off for this particular story comes from comicbookmovie.com, and they go on to say, following last night's report about The Batman Part 2's potential production start date and Clayface's involvement, we have another far juicier rumor about another classic Batman character. MTTSH is now claiming that Matt Reeves' highly anticipated sequel will introduce a new take on the original Robin, Dick Grayson. There has only been one previous big screen incarnation of Grayson, Chris O'Donnell in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, but the character has appeared in numerous animated projects, as well as the likes of Titans and the classic 60s Batman TV series. If accurate, Robin's involvement will be somewhat surprising, since Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne wasn't supposed to have been operating as Batman for very long in the first film. Of course, there could be a significant time jump before the events of the sequel. So first and foremost, am I keen for the idea of Robin being in The Batman Part 2? Absolutely, as long as the characterization is handled well, the costume is handled well, the way he is introduced to Bruce is handled well. But my second school of thought is, if this only takes place a year or so after the events of the first The Batman, I just don't think it would really work. It seems like Bruce is still very young in terms of his Batman career. The way I see Robin being introduced to Batman is always a much older Batman, a much older Bruce Wayne, a much more wiser take on the character. Who knows how they are going to be introduced? Like, at this stage, we're just speculating with what the script is going to involve in terms of their meeting. Is he going to be part of the Flying Graysons? Who the fuck knows? But this rumor has kind of been like on and off for quite some time, but now it seems more prevalent than ever, and I'm kind of all for it. I definitely am always keen for a new take on a certain comic book character, and in the case of Robin, I was always dressing up as Robin as a kid. I have owned a screen-used Robin costume from Batman and Robin, so the character definitely resonates with me. We've obviously got the Penguin series in development at the moment. Now that has been halted due to the strikes. Maybe there might be some mention or some murmur of the Flying Graysons, or kind of planting the seed within that series, because as far as I know, they haven't exactly finished the series yet. I thought they had wrapped filming, but they apparently had a few more bits and pieces to do. Then the strikes happened and they had to halt production. So who knows if they're going to sprinkle, you know, a couple of Easter eggs in there in terms of mentioning Dick Grayson, the Flying Graysons, or just set up Robin for when we get to the Batman Part 2, we have that story all ready to be fired off. And again, going back to my initial thoughts, when it comes to the Batman Part 2, if they are going to go the route of Robin, handle the characterization properly, be respectful to the mythology of the character, and have a damn good costume. Not something that's like on par with Pattinson's suit, and hopefully he does get a brand new suit in the Batman Part 2. Like, I do dig the original suit from the first The Batman, but it's time for a bit of an upgrade. You know, that thing was very kit bashed together, but I think now that he's honing his skills in, he's becoming more mature, and I definitely think there's going to be an arc over the 3 films with Matt Reeves' trilogy. We've got a very emo, very dark Bruce Wayne in the first one. Second one, finding his footing, and by the third one, I want a final form Bruce Wayne. Whether or not Robin is still going to be by his side if he does make an appearance in the Batman Part 2, and then that carries over to the Batman Part 3, who knows at this point. Moving along, it is rumored that Andy is going to be making an appearance with his family in Toy Story 5. When this rumor broke, I was like, don't, just leave it, let it die. Let me say this, Toy Story was a big part of my childhood. To this day, it is still a big part of my adulthood. I have my original Buzz Lightyear from 1996 just chilling up there, with my name still on it, that I wrote on it back in 1996. When Toy Story 3 came out, I cried at the end, but I was at peace. I love the notion of Andy heading off to college, he's handing his toys over to Bonnie, passing the torch to a new young soul who is going to take these toys in and treat them the same way that Andy treated his toys. Then Toy Story 4 was announced, and I thought, is this going to work? Upon watching it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the elements, I love Forky, it made me laugh, it made me cry at the end, and I got closure once again. Could I have gone without seeing it? Could I have gone without Toy Story 4 ever existing and just having the original trilogy? Absolutely. I had closure at the end of Toy Story 3, but then 4 came along and pleasantly surprised me. Again, I could have done without it, but it was a damn solid entry. Some people have their gripes with it. I too have my little gripes with it. It's not a perfect film, but still it had a pretty damn good ending. But now we're getting Toy Story 5 and the supposed return of Andy and his family, which is just, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, you made us feel all these emotions back in 2010 with Toy Story 3, and then with Toy Story 4, even though it was centered around Bonnie and her family. Like, what are you going to do next? Toy Story 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the article I'm referencing comes from Screen Rant, and it's actually a couple of hours old since the news came out about this, like last week. But this is actually in regards to the backlash with people taking to Twitter, X, with their frustration at the possible hint of Andy returning in Toy Story 5, let alone the idea of Toy Story 5. Toy Story 5 rumors hitting that a major character may potentially return have prompted complaints about retconning the original ending to Toy Story 3. In February of this year, Disney CEO Bob Iger surprisingly announced that a 5th installment was in development, despite the series delivering a nearly perfect ending with 2019's Toy Story 4. Since then, a Pixar boss has confirmed that Woody and Buzz Lightyear would return for Toy Story 5. Recently, unconfirmed reports suggested the toy's original owner, Andy, would return to the franchise, and his own family would become central to the movie's plot. Like, what is this? Like, middle-aged Andy having a midlife crisis and he has to reconnect with his old toys? I don't know, but I can't exactly say I'm all for this idea. I just really felt you should have let the franchise end at Toy Story 4. Sure, there are spin-offs, you know, we've got our Pixar shorts on Disney+. They're fine. They're sort of canon, but they're not. As far as the original timeline goes, I'm happy with the 4 films we got. Now, I've actually screenshot a few Twitter posts. I'm not calling it X, it's just weird. And one of them involves a friend of mine, Chris from 3C Films. Chris goes on to say, they're really just about to retcon the Toy Story finale for the 3rd time and just have the toys end up with Andy's kids, aren't they? I mean, you're not wrong, dude. Like, is that how it's gonna be? Like, are Andy's kids gonna thrash these toys? Another Twitter post goes on to say, so, they're gonna have these toys somehow end up with Andy's kids, and they're making a Toy Story 6 with Andy Jr. It's crazy how Disney made the perfect trilogy only to miss the entire point of what was supposed to be the final movie. Again, raises a very good point. The ending with Toy Story 3 hit me right in the feels, but I got closure at the end. The toys had a new home, a damn good home with Bonnie and her family. Then obviously 4 came along, revolves around Bonnie. We got Forky as well. I liked it. It actually worked really well. This, who the hell knows how this is going to pan out at this stage, but just the return of Andy and his family, it's just too much of a good thing. It's like what I said about the Frasier reboot. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. But at this point, it's speculation, it's rumors, but it has been sort of confirmed by a few inside people that are attached with Disney, so who the hell knows how this is going to pan out. So to sum up this video, guys, when it comes to the supposed appearance of Robin in the Batman Part 2, like I said, as long as you handle the characterization of the character, like you handled the costuming really well, the mythology, you respect the mythology, I'm just more concerned about the timeline in terms of Bruce's characterization and where he is mentally and whether he's going to be of sound mind to take on, I guess you could say, a young Padawan, to train him to be like he is. In terms of Andy returning in Toy Story 5 along with his family, I'm not really all for it. I'm like happy with what we got with 4, even though I didn't think it was a necessary film. Of course I'm going to see Toy Story 5 the day it comes out. I'm going to be seeing Toy Story 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 the day they come out because I'm a loyal fan. But just this notion of a returning character that I've got closure on, it just opens up an old wound. I felt a lot of things back then when I was a kid in 96, all the way up to 2010 and then 2019 with Toy Story 4. So I'm happy with what we got. Either way, Let me know your thoughts down below on both these stories. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.